There is absolutely zero doubt in my mind. Rachel Meghan Markle was a semi-expensive yacht girl, and she knows it.
Many of you have seen this picture already. You see that there's Meghan with her Cajuna hat.
It started on what seemed like an ordinary night in London. A quiet Mayfair gathering, the kind where power meets privilege and everyone knows more than they should.
Everything happened because of Fergie.
The room buzzed with laughter that didn't quite reach the eyes, the kind of laughter that hides secrets. And then at one end of the table, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, leaned in and said something that froze the air. Let's just say Meghan was Andrew's first client. The noise stopped, glasses hovered mid-air. Every head turned. For a moment, nobody spoke.
Meghan Markle was introduced by Sarah Ferguson to Prince Harry.
Everyone understood what those words meant, how dangerous they were. A single sentence whispered once with the power to tear open everything the palace had worked to protect. By the time the night was over, that whisper had already escaped, racing through the royal circles faster than anyone could stop it.
He said Miss Markle was a close companion to Prince Andrew.
By the time the sun rose, Buckingham Palace was burning, not in flames, but in fear. Phones buzzed non-stop through the long hours of the night. Behind sealed doors, advisors spoke in hushed tones, trading anxious glances and secrets. Meanwhile, across the ocean in Montecito, Prince Harry was reportedly furious, torn between disbelief and anger. 7 simple words had set everything ablaze. In a single breath, the royal household seemed to stop waiting, tense as though even silence might make things worse.
Meghan Markle was introduced through Marcus Anderson to Sarah Ferguson.
To grasp why that single whisper struck so deeply, you first need to know the woman behind it. Sarah Ferguson isn't your typical duchess. She's the royal world survivor, the one who always finds a way back after every fall. From the sensational tabloid scandals of the 90s to her well-publicized financial troubles, Fergie has spent decades walking the razor's edge of royal approval. Each time the palace cast her aside, she resurfaced, smiling sweetly, disarming critics, and acting as if her past had never happened. She's mastered the game because she's been playing it longer than almost anyone inside those walls. So when this woman, a duchess who's been silenced, exiled, and reborn more than once, utters a line tying Meghan Markle to Prince Andrew, people don't just hear it, they take notice.
According to people, she got started her yachting days and she never stopped really. I don't think any of her boyfriends knew about it, but Meghan Markle was known as a hardcore yacht partying person, ready for anything.
According to insiders, none of it happened by chance. It wasn't a slip of the tongue, it was a deliberate strike delivered with precision and purpose. Fergie's comment wasn't ordinary chatter. It was a loaded statement dropped like a spark in a room full of dry powder. Because when Sarah Ferguson speaks, the palace doesn't just listen, they remember exactly what she's capable of. Long before the tiaras, the streaming deals, and the royal headlines, there was simply Meghan Markle, an actress with enormous ambition and an unshakable drive to rise.
She was a yacht girl. That's right. It's mentioned in the book. Meghan used to entertain as a yacht girl. Now, I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it happened. But I am saying Harry knows it.
Hollywood was never a gentle place for dreamers. For those starting out, the roles were forgettable, the rent unforgiving, and the gates to success stayed tightly shut unless you knew the right hands to shake. Rumors claim that during those uncertain years, Meghan began to surface in exclusive social scenes, the kind that never appeared in glossy magazines or celebrity columns. There were whispered stories of private yacht gatherings drifting along the Mediterranean coast, elegant affairs where the wealthy and influential mingled far from cameras. On those decks, alliances were forged, introductions traded, and every charming smile carried its own hidden cost.
And I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before you got her.
Insiders allege that Meghan, young and determined, moved within that world. Not as a star, but as someone who knew exactly how to make connections. She could step into a room filled with billionaires and walk out as the one they all remembered. Those were what many later called her yacht years, a hazy chapter surrounded by speculation, blurred photos, and unverified whispers. No one can say with certainty what truly unfolded during that time. But it's precisely that air of uncertainty that made Fergie's remarks so explosive. Because when she implied Meghan had once been Andrew's first client, it wasn't just a careless rumor. It tethered Meghan's alleged past to one of the most controversial figures in royal history. And in the royal world where image means everything, perception often destroys long before proof ever arrives.
And we also have this. This is Karina Shuliak, Epstein's girlfriend.
And the only times she traveled and went anywhere was with him. And guess who's on the other end with her Panama hat?
To grasp the blaze Fergie ignited, you have to first understand the man at its core, Prince Andrew. For decades, he lived as though rules were for other people. He was the royal who jetted across the world on private planes, lounged on secluded islands, and counted billionaires among his closest companions. Luxury wasn't just his lifestyle, it was his oxygen. His universe was exclusive, insulated, and tightly guarded, a golden orbit of wealth and privilege that circled entirely around him.
Jeffrey Epstein was also Harvey Weinstein, very prominent. There were members. Meghan Markle was just one of the working girls for Soho House. Call girl, working girl.
Those yachts, massive, glistening vessels drifting across the Mediterranean, were the true playgrounds of power. Champagne flowed endlessly, names on the guest list stayed unspoken, and only the most connected ever got an invitation. Business moguls, socialites, models, and rising actresses all stepped aboard, each chasing something different, each performing a part in the same elaborate game. Insiders from that scene say Prince Andrew thrived in it, not just attending, but orchestrating. He was the host, the gatekeeper, the man who could grant access others could only dream of. That's why Fergie's statement that Meghan was Andrew's first client hit like a bombshell. It didn't sound like idle gossip. It implied that long before she ever met Prince Harry, Meghan Markle might have already moved within Andrew's rarefied circle, one stained by scandal, hidden dealings, and the lingering shadows of Jeffrey Epstein's empire.
Prince Andrew, have you noticed how he completely avoids looking at Meghan Markle when she's around him or when she was around him?
For Buckingham Palace, even the faintest hint of that connection was a ticking bomb. One scandal alone was dangerous, but when two collided, it threatened to shatter the entire monarchy. But how did Meghan find her way into that world in the first place? How did a television actress from Los Angeles end up mingling with princes and duchesses? Insiders point to one man, Marcus Anderson. Marcus wasn't born into royalty, but his influence came from something just as valuable: access. He was the social gatekeeper of Soho House, the elite private club where the powerful and famous moved freely, far from public eyes. If you wanted to meet someone important, a filmmaker, a politician, even a prince, Marcus was the one who could open that door. Allegedly, he's the one who first introduced Meghan to Sarah Ferguson, perhaps casually, a brief exchange over champagne at a Soho House gathering. But that small introduction changed everything. From that moment, Meghan's name began appearing on lists she'd once only dreamed of, placing her among those just a few steps away from royal circles. No one could have predicted it then, but that single meeting would set her on a path leading straight to Prince Harry himself.
And here we have Andrew, with whom looks like Marcus Anderson. This is in 2001, when Meghan Markle would have allegedly been on third year. Meghan Markle hardly spent any time at Northwestern University.
When Fergie later uttered those 7 fateful words, Meghan was Andrew's first client, it was Marcus's quiet network that gave the rumor its strength. If those connections truly existed, it meant Meghan hadn't simply stumbled into royal life by chance. Whether she realized it or not, she'd been walking that path long before anyone noticed. But the question remains, why say it now? What could Fergie gain by dragging Meghan's name back into Andrew's shadow? Some insiders whisper it was payback, cold, deliberate payback for the years she spent in exile while Meghan basked in royal favor. Fergie herself never reclaimed. Others insist it was pure strategy, a reminder to the palace and the public that Sarah Ferguson still carried power, that with just one remark she could make the walls tremble again. And then there's the darker theory that she said it not to harm Meghan, but to shield Andrew, to create a fresh scandal that buried the old one beneath a new storm. Whatever her motive, one truth was undeniable: Fergie knew exactly what she was doing. Her life has always been a balancing act between confession and chaos, but this time she wasn't flailing. She was in control. Each word she dropped was like a breadcrumb, luring the world deeper into a labyrinth the palace could no longer manage. And for anyone hoping it was all just one isolated rumor, it wasn't. There were multiple trips, several photos, and whispers that refused to fade.
And I know what you're going to say. Maybe it was just that one trip. No, there were quite a few trips. There's actually quite a lot of pictures about them. There are 2 pictures that leaked.
While Buckingham Palace scrambled to preserve its image, tension in Montecito reached a boiling point. Sources close to Harry say he was livid, torn between anger and disbelief. His wife's name had been tied to his disgraced uncle, and the betrayal came from someone within his own family.
Been a deal or no deal girl. She was calling herself a model, and she was starring in a show Suits. She used to charge almost $30,000 per trip, which is why she was making good money. It wasn't on Suits. It was on her yachting trip.
Meghan chose silence. No statements, no interviews, no public outings. Her team quietly withdrew every scheduled appearance, hoping the noise would die on its own. But instead of fading, the story grew louder, because sometimes silence echoes louder than any denial. Behind closed doors, legal action was reportedly considered, but royal etiquette complicated everything. How do you take legal aim at someone who's still considered family? Every possible move risked transforming a rumor into a royal war. That's when it became clear this wasn't about the media anymore. It was deeply personal. And so came the calm after the chaos, or at least the illusion of calm the palace desperately wished for. The cameras might have turned elsewhere, but Fergie's words still lingered in the air like smoke that refused to clear. These days, Sarah Ferguson strolls through London smiling for photographers as if the storm never touched her. But those who truly know her say that smile isn't carelessness, it's control. Because Fergie understands a truth few ever grasp. In the royal world, power isn't about crowns or titles, it's about secrets and the courage to use them. With one whisper, she reshaped the royal narrative overnight, entwining Meghan's past with Andrew's scandals and reopening wounds the palace believed were long sealed. And as the world waits for the next royal shockwave, one thing is undeniable. Sarah Ferguson may no longer wear a crown, but she's proven she can still make the throne tremble. Because in a family built on image and silence, the most dangerous person is always the one who's already lost everything. Even as Meghan retreated from the spotlight, the echoes of her silence stirred something older, something that's haunted the palace for decades. Because long before Meghan Markle challenged the monarchy's image, there was another woman who did the same, but on a far grander scale, Princess Diana. Her death in 1997 didn't just break the hearts of millions, it fractured the royal family from within. King Charles, then still prince, faced the storm of public outrage that painted him as cold, detached, almost villainous. The monarchy, once untouchable, suddenly looked fragile under the weight of grief and modern scrutiny. For young William and Harry, the loss wasn't just personal, it was destiny-altering. They grew up as living reminders of Diana's legacy, carrying her charm, her defiance, and her burden. William became the steady heir, molded by duty and the careful hand of palace advisors determined never to repeat the chaos of the past. Harry, however, inherited something different: his mother's fire, her mistrust of the system that once silenced her. Many royal watchers say that's where the first cracks between the brothers began. William learned to survive within the palace, Harry learned to escape it, and when Meghan entered his life, an outsider who also understood the price of public perception, it was like history echoing itself. The same press that once adored Diana turned on Meghan, and the palace once again chose silence over defense. For Kate, Diana's shadow was both a blessing and a curse. The public saw her as the graceful continuation of the people's princess, but insiders say that comparison came with impossible expectations. Every gesture, every smile, every outfit was measured against the memory of Diana. Yet where Kate adapted, Meghan resisted. One played the part, the other rewrote it. And that difference split the public, the media, and the royal family itself. King Charles, now on the throne, has tried to present unity, but rumors persist that the old wounds never healed. Diana's ghost still lingers in every public appearance, every royal photograph. To some, Meghan's story feels like a modern retelling. Another woman battling the institution from inside, another outsider blamed for its unrest. And perhaps that's why the whispers about Meghan hit so hard, because they didn't just challenge her. They reopened an old question the palace has spent decades trying to bury. Can love ever survive inside those gilded walls without being consumed by them? As the cameras fade from Meghan's silence, the ghosts of the past step forward again. Diana's story isn't over, it's just wearing a different face. The royal stage has changed, but the war for perception has never been fiercer. After Diana's era of heartbreak came a new world, one ruled not by newspapers but by algorithms, hashtags, and viral moments. The palace may still hold crowns, but influence now lives online, and that's a battlefield Meghan understands better than anyone. Since stepping back from royal duties, Meghan and Harry have tried to shape their narrative beyond the palace walls. There were high-profile interviews, a Netflix deal, and now a full-scale brand reinvention through As Ever, a lifestyle venture built on authenticity, warmth, and carefully crafted simplicity. But behind that image lies a tug-of-war between reinvention and remembrance. To some, the brand is empowerment, to others it's damage control, a polished rewrite of a story once steeped in controversy. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, William and Kate play a different game. Their image relies on stability, tradition, and the illusion of timeless grace. They attend galas, pose for portraits, and maintain that perfect royal composure that Britain still craves. But even that facade has begun to show cracks. From rumors surrounding edited family photos to whispers about their private lives, the perfect image of the next king and queen has faced its own digital backlash. Still, the contrast couldn't be clearer. Kate thrives in silence while Meghan speaks through action. Kate upholds the system, Meghan disrupts it, and whether the public admits it or not, both women are fighting the same invisible opponent: perception. Royal watchers call it the Diana divide. Two women, two paths, both haunted by comparisons to the same legacy. Meghan, like Diana, has been cast as the rebel. Kate, the dutiful heir to a dream that never truly existed. Behind palace gates, insiders say the tension isn't personal, it's strategic. Each move by one side reshapes the narrative of the other. Every public smile, every brand launch, every photograph becomes ammunition in a silent struggle for global sympathy. And with Charles facing health challenges and public faith in the monarchy at a crossroads, that image war might define who inherits more than just the throne. It might decide who inherits the people's trust. Because in the 21st century, the royal crown isn't made of gold. It's built from stories. And the one who controls those stories controls the legacy. For the palace, scandals don't vanish, they simply change shape. Sarah Ferguson may have lit the match, but what followed became a full-blown royal inferno that no one could control. Her whispered remark, "Meghan was Andrew's first client," was more than gossip. It cracked open old wounds the monarchy had tried to seal for decades. And the deeper you look, the more it all starts to connect. Prince Andrew, once the Queen's favorite son, became the family's greatest liability. His friendship with men the palace pretends never existed. His silence, his exile, it all left a stain that can't be scrubbed clean. And when Ferguson's words tied Meghan's name to his shadowed world, the monarchy felt the tremor of another earthquake coming. It wasn't just about what she said, it was about what the world might believe. For Meghan and Harry, the fallout was personal. The couple who thought they'd escaped royal chaos found themselves pulled right back into it. Behind the scenes, whispers grew, claims of phone calls between aides, private arguments, late-night meetings meant to control the narrative before it spiraled again. But scandals are like ghosts. The harder you try to contain them, the louder they rattle. And then there's Kate, the palace's perfect answer to every crisis. While Meghan faced headlines that burned, Kate became the image of calm, the royal brand reborn in soft light and careful silence. But insiders say even that perfection hides cracks. The pressure to stay flawless, to hold the crown's reputation together while others fall apart, it's its own kind of cage. Meanwhile, Ferguson walks freely, smiling as if she never threw the spark that set everything ablaze. Some call her reckless, others say she's strategic, a woman who knows exactly how to survive the storm she helped create. Her smile isn't apology, it's proof that she still matters. In a family that erases its mistakes, she's managed to make herself unforgettable. And through it all, one figure remains quietly in the middle, King Charles, trying to keep the monarchy steady while his family fractures around him, managing Andrew's silence, Harry's rebellion, and Meghan's global reach, all while the shadow of Diana still looms over every move he makes. So as the palace fights to hold its image together, one truth refuses to fade. This wasn't just a rumor. It was a reminder that behind the crowns, the gowns, and the polite smiles lies something darker, a kingdom built on secrets, loyalty, and carefully crafted illusions. Because in the royal world, truth isn't the goal, control is. And when that control slips, even for a moment, the whole empire trembles. The whispers about Meghan, Andrew, and Fergie may fade from headlines, but the damage is already done. The story's out there, twisting, spreading, rewriting itself. And as always, the palace will deny, the press will speculate, and the world will keep watching, waiting for the next royal secret to break free. Because in this family, scandal isn't a mistake, it's tradition.